I can remember a couple of incidents when we were kids at 211 South Kellogg that might be fun to remember. One of them was I hired Paul. I was hired by Grandpa to paint the garage when they built a big new garage in the back of our yard. And I hired Paul for so much an hour, I forgot what it was, but I ended up paying him $7 for the entire project. And I don't remember what I got, but he did a pretty bad job of painting. I remember one other incident that I want to mention. My dad built a playhouse. There were a couple of trees that were fastened sort of halfway together, apple trees, and he made us a playhouse with furniture and toys and things in it. Paul destroyed it, just because little kids destroy things. And I raised hell. And I came to Grandpa and complained bitterly, and he told him the story that Paul had broken up my playhouse. And he says, oh, "What did he do?" I said, "So he said he busted up the furniture we had in there." And so he says, "Well, I got an idea. We'll name him Buster. He'll have to give up his name, Paul, and we'll call him Buster because he busted up the furniture." I remember that incident precisely because I cried for 2 days. And I remember a ride he gave me on this tricycle when he got a new tricycle, dumped it over, and I split my chin wide open. I remember a lot of little incidents like that. We used to fight a lot. We kicked each other under the table at the meals. For some reason or other, the kids kicked each other under the table. I think it was a kind of a going system, but I do remember getting a couple of strokes for beating up on him. And he used to follow me wherever I went. Me and Belle Deitch used to sneak around the corner and take walks. We would put our dress into our bloomers, big black bloomers, and make believe we were boys because we had pants. We were walking with pants, and we'd walk around the block and around the whole block with our skirt in our pants. We thought that was really being very masculine. I don't think I have really any really funny things to relate, but we did have fun, and Grandpa was a lot of fun. He entered into things, and he sang millions of songs, which we learned slightly incorrectly, but our dialect was well-meaning. I think there are a billion incidents I could think of, but they're all very similar, and it was fun. It was fun growing up with him, even though he took advantage of it. See, when I kicked him or something, he always snitched. He always told.
That's Buster Deitch.
Yeah.
Did you want more?
What about Louise? Let's mention about Louise.
Oh, well, Louise remembers, like I do, about how it was living with Sadie upstairs, I think. And I remember Sadie singing. She would sing songs down. She'd go down the laundry to wash and sing loud songs, real loud, not very pleasant sounding voice. And I remember also that when she cleaned house upstairs, she'd pour buckets of water into the registers to clear out, clean the registers. And of course the water would come out in my register downstairs. She'd throw the water down the thing and it would come up.
Mom, I think that's what they call hot water heat.
Oh, really? Jimmy says that's probably where the expression hot water heat originated. There are many, many funny incidences with Sadie. We used to get a kick out of it, and it was, when you look back on it, it's kind of fun. At the time, we didn't think so, but it was. It was great fun. And Paul used to tag along whenever he got a chance. He wanted to tag with the girls, me and Bill. It was fun. It was great fun. But I remember under the when we ate dinners at night, Paul and I were always seated next to each other, and we were always fighting. I wonder why. I think maybe I was the baby till he came along. And maybe I resented him. I don't know, but it was fun when you look back on it at this point in our life. Huh?
You still resent him?
I still resent it. No, I guess probably I can live with it now for the rest of the time.
Thank you, Helen,
Yes,
for your insight.
You're very welcome. I've enjoyed it very much. We had a lot of fun growing up. I can't think of the things now that I would like to remember precisely, but it was fun.
Cut.
Paul, guess who? I don't think you want to know what I'm going to tell you, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I know whenever I see you, you kind of stay away from me because you know that I know your birthday's in August, and that means you're a couple months older than me. But anyway, we don't care. We're getting up in years, and as long as we stay well, what the hell do we care? And people tell me I don't look my age, so that's a good compliment. I hope you and Paul are fine. And then I remember when you were studying for your bar mitzvah, you stayed at my parents' house. And you know, we were young. And you used to chase me around the dining room table, and my mother would holler in Jewish, Gavek. And then I remember on New Year's Eve, your dad, I had a date, and there used to be a Chamberlain Hotel. Downtown, they had a dance. And we went there, and we had a good time. Other than that, you used to send me, I remember you used to send me stamps and gum, so I would write to you. I guess that's about all I remember, Paul. So stay well and come visit everybody in Des Moines, okay? Bye-bye.
Paul and Louise, Babe Whitten here, as if I had to tell you. Paul, if you remember, I met you the latter part of 1938. That's when your cousin Bill was married to Maury Goodside. And you had just gotten out of college. You went to work for Iowa Sheet Metal, Mose Waldinger, who is one of my all-time favorite Jews of the city of Des Moines. You were having a job. I can tell this story because we're all adults. You were going down to Newton to do an air conditioning job. You and I were talking. My neighborhood was very sexy. We used to talk about sex all the time, on the street, in our house, or any place else. You were still a virgin. I remember this well. We were sitting on the porch of the good sides and we're talking, and you're going down, you know nothing about women and so forth, and here's little Babe Whitten explaining everything to you. Sure enough, you went down to Newton, you wound up with a maid, you lost your virginity. Louise, don't worry, this is before he got married. He was so happy. Allow me to jump to 1956. I wanted to read blueprints, and I knew Paul Duitch was an engineer, and he lived on Polk Boulevard, and I lived on Pleasant. I called up Paul and I said, Paul, will you come over and teach me something about blueprints? Of course, babe, I'll be right over. Came over, he taught me about blueprints, but the most important thing, and Paul will always remember this, the most important thing, the friendship of Babe Whitten and Paul Duitch, is I taught Paul how to drink martinis. Oh boy, he thought that was the greatest thing that ever happened to him. Really so. This has nothing to do with Paul, but a bunch of us were up to Clear Lake. We had no bulbs in the house, so we stole some off of the dock. Your cousin Ray was with us. He spent the night in jail in Clear Lake, Iowa. Too bad you weren't there, because you would have been the oldest and you would have gone to jail. And 1961, Babe, Alicia, and their family are moving to Phoenix, Arizona. Many of my friends had stopovers. They rented a bus and had stopovers to various houses for a drink and so forth. Yours was one of them. This bus took us to Winterset, Iowa, where I was born, and we bowled and we drank and we ate. We had a fine time. Paul, I remember you very well. I remember when you moved on Waterbury, I think it was Jack Levinsky's house, and I brought Ruthie over there, and she met you and Louise. We had a drink downstairs. That was a walk out to the thing, if I remember correctly. And I could never understood how Louise could stay with you this long, except for one thing. I think she was very fluent in French, beside English, of course. And I think when she got mad, she used to curse you in French and you didn't know what it was. But you'll have to talk to Louise about that. I'm proud to be here with your grandson and your son. And I remember a story about Bobby where he was the shy one of the bunch. And I said, well, don't worry about him. The rest of the boys will be working for Bobby before they're through. You remember that, Paul? And he turned out to be a nice gentleman. He turned out to be a big gentleman. And your grandson is Orthodox Jew, which I'm proud to say. And that's where we all should be, and we will be someday. We all should go back to Israel. I've been there a couple of times. I don't know if you were there or not, Paul, but it's quite a country. My nephew's daughter is in Israel now. I think she'll stay there. I think she'll become a Kabbalist, which is wonderful. At least she knows what she's doing. The rest of us don't. And my cousin's daughter, that's Jerry Levine. You remember Jerry? She was married to Nate Rosenthal. Her daughter is now in Africa, doing what she can to help the people in poverty and so forth and so on. Paul, I remember fondly of so many conversations we had. And I remember you always thought you were the king of the king of the hill when it came to women. But Paul, you know you had no chance when I was around. You know that, don't you, Paul? Tell Louise that. I think even Louise fell in love with me. And I can understand it. Story about Babe Whitten. I have now given, listen to this, Bobby, I have given 34.5 gallons of blood to the Red Cross. Paul, I'm the most decorated Jew in Iowa for the Second World War. kind of proud of it. I mean, just very lucky, I guess. I was in the Air Force, if you remember. And I flew my 25 missions. I was squadron navigator. And when I went overseas, 6 out of 100 came back. I'm a pretty good mathematician. I know the odds aren't very good. And I knew if I wasn't killed on my first mission, I would have been the 13th or the 24th or the 25th. But came out without a scratch. I'm the only one out of my crew that came back. The crew that I trained with in the United States, I lost them on their second mission. I was in the lead plane. I was made squadron navigator after my 7th mission. So I was always flying in the lead plane. But that has nothing to do. I want to give you a mazel tov on your 65th. Alicia and I were married in 1946. So next year would have been our 60th, I guess. And I know how much you liked Alicia. Everyone did. I think that's enough talking right now. Have a martini for me, Paul, if you still know how to make them. I don't drink martinis anymore, I only drink wine, but I'll have a wine for your mazel tov. Love you all.
Paul and Louise, I believe it's 65 years of wedded bliss. And I'm 66, so that must mean that you were married in 1940. I'm just assuming that. And since your anniversary is coming up, 65 years. I'll tell you the truth, I knew both of you would make it because of the vitamins. And I really feel strongly that 10 years from now, when I'm 75 and you are 76, and you guys are going to be celebrating the 75th, Paul's going to be sitting there eating 2,000 milligram of vitamin C, 800 of E, et cetera, because you guys are both very, very healthy. You too, Louise. Here's hoping that you have a very happy 65th with the family. I'm sorry I won't be able to be at the affair, although now that I think of it, I don't think I was invited. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure if I wanted to come out west, I could. Thank you very much for all the good times that you both have given me. Let's see, what were they? No, I can't remember. Anyway, God bless you both. May you have all kinds of years of good health, more years of wedded bliss. And Paul, I'll tell you, you'll never change. Thank you.
Louise, Paul, congratulations on your 65th wedding anniversary. Where have the years gone? I think of us back at the apartments at 28th and Grand. That's been a long time ago. I know you'll have a wonderful time with your boys, and I wish you the best of everything. Love you both. Bye-bye.
want to wish you a very, very happy 65th and many, many more. I guess all those vitamins that Paul ate is working, because thank God he is well and able to enjoy this anniversary. You know, I was thinking about some of the things that we did living right across the Roosevelt campus from you. I spent a lot of times coming in the back door on your house on Polk Boulevard. Although I don't remember seeing you cook anything, but I do remember you doing, I think, dishes a lot. The other thing I remember is the beautiful bags that you made from the beads and the dresses. I think it was dresses, but the bags really impressed me, the beaded bags you made during, it's been a long time. I hope you've saved a couple of them. I know that Abe covered the centerpieces that we made. That was always my favorite. For the Women's League luncheon, we made centerpieces for each of the different holidays. And I've got the article. I understand that Abe has also passed that on. You and Muriel Perlman, Ruth Rissman, and I. And one of my biggest surprises, when you and Paul went on a vacation, I think it was Arizona, and next thing I know, I get a card. Guess where we are? Turkey. You ended up somehow, I guess Paul was called to go over there on business, and so from your vacation in Arizona, you ended up in Turkey, which was a nice way to go. One of the other thing that I wanted to mention was one of Babe Whitten's infamous parties, 4th of July, very, very hot. Of course, you know, there was plenty to drink around. I had not eaten all day, and so I had a drink, and it took a half of another drink for me to literally pass out. At which time Paul and Sam took me home, literally carried me home. And that was the beginning of my sobriety. From that time on, I don't think I'd had a drink in years. I think I'm now up to maybe one a year. But anyway, it's good to talk to you. I've thought about you so often, and hope that you will celebrate many more with your families in good health. And Paul, keep taking those vitamins. Obviously, they're working. With love, Tybee.
Good job.
Paul and I and Joe Weiner and Bernard, I can't remember his last name, took a fishing trip to Lac Seul, Canada. We left there on a Saturday night after Shabbos and drove straight through to Lac Seul. It was just south of Red Lake. And we were having good days of fishing, and Paul and I decided we'd gamble $75 on a fly-in. The plane picked us up in the morning, Paul and I and the guide, and we flew into this little lake, which was a short distance away, but was landlocked. And we fished there all day and had a good time. A guide made us shore lunch. And then when it was time to go in, I packed everything up that I had with me and put it away. And Paul had to take one more cast. But Paul, at the end of the day, always had to take one more cast. Well, this cast hooked into a northern that he brought in and threw in the boat because the guide had already put the net away and we didn't have a net with us. The fish landed in the middle of his tackle box and threw lures all over the boat and had them stuck all over his sides. We finally got the fish unhooked from all the lures and put him back in the lake, and we boarded that plane. The plane was like a Model T Ford with wings, no side windows on either side. And when he flew and tipped so you could see down below, you felt like you were going to fall out of the plane. But it was a very interesting trip, and fishing at the hole was very good. It was so good that Paul never wanted to go fishing to Canada again. I went many times, but he didn't. That's my fishing experience with Paul Duitch in Canada. Wish him mazel tov to Paul and Louise. Hope they enjoy their children for a few more years to come. And thanks for being invited to partake in this video. I hope his memory is good enough to remember that far back. Say something, Rosita. Don't just sit there.
I also want to say mazel tov to you on this wonderful occasion. You should celebrate many, many more years. And I remember the good times we used to have with you guys. And we still miss you. And so we love you and the best to you. Bye.
I want to talk to Louisa. Louisa, we got a blind granddaughter in Des Moines who's ill, and I think about you every day because I'm so mindful of the total amount of work that you spent in recording textbooks for individual people who were blind and who needed your help. But Gillian's been very ill and has taken up a lot of our time. But I also, just so everybody understands the history, Louisa is 1 year older than I. I'm 85. I'm 85 and on October the 4th, and I've forgotten when Louisa's birthday is. And Paul, I think Paul's 20 years older than I am. Are you not, Paul? Oh, it just seems so. Okay, you know. Last time I saw you, it seemed like that. But the thing that Margie and I were reviewing, and the thing that we remember most, I think, is when we all went to Mexico together, and when you had the opportunity to see old Mexico, and that was a lot of fun. Now, Jeff, turn it on Marjorie. Marjorie will take the rest of the 5 minutes.
Best wishes for your holiday. Wish we could spend it with you. We're still looking for some good friends. We have never had a couple that we enjoyed so much as you, and have many times that we remember. Sometimes we get big laughs out of some of the things we did. For instance, after Thanksgiving dinner at night, when we went down our driveway and found two black people in a car. And Paul and Gib had a great time before we could get out of there. And our trip to Okoboji with all of our babies, I don't even know if they were all born then, but we had a great time. We were nearly blown into the lake one night with a tornado. I remember putting, I think it was Stephen, I put under the bed. I thought maybe he'd be safer there. And it was quite a trip getting up there with all those kids. Many, many holidays we wish that you were around. We've spent a lot of them alone. We haven't found anybody to replace you, and really still haven't quite forgiven you for going away. Gib usually does all the talking for both of us, so it's always difficult for me. But we wish we could be with you on your anniversary and hope you have 65 more. We love you.
My name is Titus Simonini. I managed the Hyperion Club back in the 50s and 60s and 70s. And I can remember visiting with John Clark, who was our pro at that time, about who might win the Sani tournament, if there was any contender in the membership that might win that tournament. But I don't believe the name Paul Duitch ever came up at that time. However, you might find some comfort in this, Mr. Duitch, because I don't believe Dubansky or any other of your foursome was in that name, was named at that time. I am privileged to be asked to participate in this little program for your birthday, and want to wish you and the missus the very best, and certainly hope that you'll have a beautiful 65th
anniversary.
65th anniversary and 90th birthday, is that right? Coming up soon.
Yeah.
I understand that as I visited with your son, that your handicap is really nothing too much to brag about, so maybe I shouldn't bring it up at this time. But again, I wish to thank you for the privilege of saying hello and wish you the very best. Thank you very much.
Hi, Paul and Louise. This is Maury Bassman speaking from Des Moines, Iowa. It's now Sunday, January the 26th.
June 26th.
What did you say?
24th. June 26th.
Anyway, we are very, very flattered that we've been asked to participate in this little video presentation that is being sent to you on behalf of your 65th wedding anniversary. Unfortunately, Shirley, my wife, as you remember her, is bedridden more or less with a disease called amyloidosis, and is not really in any position to talk to you at this time. However, we go back an awful long time. As Paul and Louise, you will remember, we've had some wonderful, wonderful times together. Just something to kind of refresh your memory of some of the old, two of the old incidents. I'm sure, Paul, you will remember the 9th hole at Hyperion many, many, many years ago, when you and I, Marv Dubansky and Marv Silk, had a little foursome going on a game of golf. And we were on the 9th hole. I distinctly remember this, and I'll remember it the rest of my life, that we had all hit, and I think Marv Dubansky was the last to get up there to hit, and Marv Dubansky took a little bit of a notion to let a little bit of air, and the ground shook, and we started laughing so hard, I think we all lay down on the ground. It was a great, great day. It was a lot of fun, and we've had a lot of fun in our foursome in the past years. And Louise, I'm sure you'll remember the incident when you were living in Des Moines, when a gentleman came to your house and said to you, "Hi, cuz." I think he was a worker on the streets department at that time, and I'm sure you remember. I remember you telling the story that he came up and knocked on the door and saw you and said, "Hi, cuz." But anyway, Paul and Louise, we most certainly want to wish you a very, very happy and healthy 65th wedding anniversary. It's quite a milestone in your life, and we were so happy and so proud to be able to participate in your life. And we wish you the very, very best in continued life and health out there in California. And of course, it goes without saying, should you come to Florida or Des Moines, please look us up. Again, our very, very best wishes to you, and all the best that goes with you. And one more thing we do remember, we were so flattered when one time we came into your house and you were counting vitamins. We finally found out the secret to your longevity. Thanks again, Paul and Louise, for being such great friends and wonderful people. Maury Bassman signing off.
It's been a long time since we've been together. I can remember being down in San Diego, going to some type of a meeting somewhere on a ship or a little boat or something. I don't have anything really earth-shaking to say. All I can say is congratulations, 65 years, that's almost as old as I am. But congratulations and good luck to you. Thank you. Bye.
Is that enough? The end. Okay. Should we do another chorus? Should we do more, Jeff, or you think you got enough?
Cut out what you
I think that's enough. I think that's...
This is a tribute to Paul and Louise on their 65th anniversary. Kanahora and Mazel Tov. And also to your wonderful family, children, spouses, grandchildren, and all mishpacha deserve this wonderful mitzvah. You know, I have so many wonderful memories of Louise and Paul. You know, Ruth, a blessed memory, and I always treasured their friendship. They were always so cordial and so much fun. It was always so special to be invited to their dinner parties. Louise was a gourmet cook, and her table was so beautifully coordinated. Paul had the best scotch and liquors and wines that I can imagine. And he would tell you in great detail what their fine points were. He made a Scotchman out of me. But Paul, I'm sorry to say I'm back to drinking wine, especially after seeing that movie Sideways. Actually, I'm drinking Pinot Noir. I got to help the California wine industry. They were always perfect hosts. Now, being an engineer, Paul, and he was a damn good one too, he would analyze any problem by putting it into an equation. And it would work out, it worked except when it came to solving Tiferet Israel synagogue problems and golf problems. In the synagogue, such as, quote, how are we going to make a minyan this morning? We need a 10th man. Eureka! They'd say, call Paul. He lives across the street from us. He'll come. And I know many times Paul went there. He was that kind of a guy. Except when he was in Dallas supervising an air conditioning installation of their arena. He was the chief engineer and man in charge. And I think, what was the name of that? I think it was the first arena that was ever air conditioned in the country, maybe in the world. And he got the job done. It was a major, major achievement. And I know Paul got national recognition from that. Now, he also was a ladies' man, and he liked them all, but Louise, with her beautiful smile and friendly remark, would bring him down to earth. But he knew he made the right choice because she was a beautiful woman, great personality, talented in everything, loving wife, and an outstanding mother. In 1960, and when we moved to Sioux City, Louise and Paul hosted a dinner party in our honor, which we would never forget. We were gone for 18 years, and we cherished the many, many memories of our friendship. And Bob and our son Kent were such good friends at the University of Iowa. And going to Sioux City was wonderful. We were met with open arms. They were so friendly. But the main thing is we enjoyed knowing Andy and her wonderful family in those days in Sioux City. And we moved back to Des Moines in 1978, and we were so fortunate to be living 2 blocks from Andy, Bob, and Barney, and Jeff. And they adopted us, Kanahora. About that time, I think that's when Paul and Louise, when they retired to San Diego. And Ruth and I went out to visit her sister Nell, which lived about 3-4 blocks from where Louise and Paul lived. And we went over and saw them and had a wonderful evening with them. And I tell you, I admire their house, their home, their location. It was beautiful. You could see that they both planned it very well. And I know they're happy in San Diego. The other day I was looking through one of the boxes that Ruth had, extra photos and other articles, ran into an interesting full-page feature that the Des Moines Tribune ran. It was an article that was printed at December 6, 1958. That was 47 years ago. And on that, we're going to show you, Jeff's going to take a picture, and there's a wonderful photo of Louise, and we're going to, Bob is going to read to you what it says there.
Mrs. Paul Duitch, 905 Polk Boulevard, displays Star of David cake and pan in which it was baked. The pan was designed and made by Mrs. Duitch's husband, chief engineer for Iowa Sheet Metal Contractors, who spent 5 hours on the task. It measures 14 inches from tip to tip of star points. Mrs. Duitch said she will present the pan to the Women's League.
I want to thank Jeff, and I want to thank Bob for reading that article underneath Louise's photo. And remember, folks, that was taken December 6, 1958, 47 years ago. So it's really beautiful and it's great, and I know that you'll all enjoy it.